Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this exciting webinar on business model innovation in additive manufacturing. My name is Ron Nolasco, and I will be your moderator for today's session. We're thrilled to have you here. Before we begin, let's go over a few housekeeping items to ensure a smooth experience for everyone. Can you please confirm if you can hear me, and if you can see the slides? Please type in yes in the chat box. Can everyone hear the audio? And if you can see the PowerPoint presentation, can please type in yes in the chat box. Um, are we? One second. Let's just wait for the response from the audience. Um, Diana, can you hear the audio?
I can hear you, but what about the participants?
Yeah, let's wait for them. Oh yes. Lisa, okay, perfect. Lisa, can you hear the audio? All right, perfect. All right, thank you. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A section. We will address them during the Q&A segment at the end. Feel free to engage in the chat, but please keep it professional and relevant to the topic. This session is being recorded and a replay will be uploaded to ITC YouTube channel. If you experience any issue, please feel free to reach out to me via chat. It's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker, Pekka Ketala, CIO of 3D Step Oi. We're honored to have him with us today, sharing their insights on business model innovation in additive manufacturing. This webinar will explore the current state of additive manufacturing as a business and its growing impact across industries. Through real world case examples, you'll gain insights into how companies are leveraging AM powered business models. We'll also discuss practical strategies for developing your own AM driven approach, offering fresh ideas and actionable guidance for innovation and growth. Without any further ado, let's welcome Pekka Katola. The stage is yours. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Ron. Great to see so many people online discussing and hearing about additive manufacturing and the business opportunities on that. Uh, my contact information is in the presentation, and if you have any ideas or need for follow-up discussions, feel free to contact me via email, and let's see what we can find out together. So additive manufacturing, or commonly known 3D printing, it impacts all industries. There is no such industry today where 3D printing is not in some format having impact. I did a review a couple of years ago. Can I find some industry where 3D printing is not used, applied in some form, in a commercial form? And I couldn't find any domain, sector, industry. It is there everywhere. And that's why it's so interesting today to see what is the business side that we can build from the existing technologies and platforms and user needs, industry needs, and the technological evolution. In this talk, I will focus on the business model innovation and business models, and especially those that are enabled or empowered by additive manufacturing. We will go through current state, where this technology and the business is today. I will show you examples of the business models and with some company examples. And then I will propose something that you can consider when you are developing your own business, whether it's small or large. And then I'm trying to provide you some insights. And I'm more than happy to have your questions and comments throughout the presentation, which we will look at closer at the end of this presentation. But in order to bring you the most value, please be active. Think, think what this can mean to you. Something about myself. Uh, First of all, I noticed that we have many participants from India, Nepal, Africa, and very distant places, USA. And I'm on this kind of corner of the planet where we have Scandinavia and Nordic countries, and especially right now we have very exciting weeks on this side of the planet because in Finland it's famous that we have the midsummer nights, and this means that the summer doesn't go down at all. In the northern part of our country, we can already see the sun 24 hours a day, and even I'm living a little bit more towards the south in our country. We have only a couple of hours when we don't see the sun. So it's very bright, very light at the moment. And this is beautiful time of the year. I really welcome you to visit Finland someday, and especially the summertime. So I'm based in the city of Tampere. Tampere is an industrial city, um, the biggest industrial inland city in Finland. We have very traditional mechanical engineering, hard industries, manufacturing industries around here. And from 3D printing perspective, this city where I am is perfect place to look at how 3D printing is coming into different industries and what kind of businesses it creates. I had a first career. I worked for Nokia Smart Devices, uh, 17 years, and I was working as an innovation manager. The beginning of the career was usability manager, user experience, but all the time I've been looking on the new uh, future technologies, user needs, trends, and how they change the industrial landscape and how they change the behavior of the people. When I started in Nokia 1995, the internet was just came public. We had the first internet browsers available, and even the personal computers were quite rare. Not many people had personal computers at that time. But my first job in Nokia was start to develop the communicator. You can see in the middle this QWERTY keypad, fancy device, and it was a mobile phone which had internet, it had fax, and it had all the possible communication technologies that are quite common today, except the fax. It was able to receive and send, and actually my team was the first globally to send an email from a mobile device, and that was super interesting time. After the communicator, I was dealing with all the latest technologies in the mobile technologies. Then we got imaging phones, smartphones, etc. And really, we could use all the innovation muscles that we could uh, find and develop. When Nokia was ramping down, as many of you know, and the business didn't go so well, I started as an entrepreneur, 2012, innovation entrepreneur and business coach. And during that journey, I've been working with the mindset that we are looking for the biggest opportunities that you can find. And at that time, we were looking at city mobility, light mobility, electric mobility, and we created Scouter product, and now we are developing Solar Scouter light electric vehicle as an own company. My second company, Idea Scout, is looking at the strategic innovation and helping companies design and implement new innovation strategies, new product and service concepts. And the hat that I'm wearing in this call is about 3D printing. In 2012, we started to look at this manufacturing industry and noticed that metal 3D printing was emerging as a new thing to the industries. It was familiar from the research, but the first businesses started to emerge around that time. And we started to dig in 3D printing, and then later on we started company to create own 3D printing business. And in this role, combined with the role from knowledge on Nokia smart devices, I've been looking at new innovation, business models, the way how industries, SMEs, micro companies, and entrepreneurs can make new business. Just looking at what is happening on some technology like 3D printing, what are the user needs that you can obviously see and that are hidden, and what business you can create by those observations. I have PhD in user-centered product development from Tampere University. Uh, I'm a member of Tampere Chamber of Commerce, where I'm looking for the new businesses, and also NATO Diana mentor, helping companies on their businesses. So this is roughly who is talking and what I am presenting. And as I said in the beginning, feel free to contact me whenever you have some ideas or questions. Few words about my company, 3D Step. Everything that I'm talking here is based on my hands-on experiences on this manufacturing industry and also some research I'm doing all the time with the business side and innovation side of this. 3D Step is industrial 3D printing service provider. We do metal and polymer printing. We have one of the biggest fleet of machines in Nordic countries, which is in the global sense, it's not so huge, but we are doing quite well, doing serial manufacturing, spare parts, individual products, etc. We are certified from the standardization perspective. We have ISO 9001 and the environmental certificate 1401. We have been in the business 10 years, 10 people working, and 6 industrial systems. And you can see some of our customers, they may be not familiar to you, but they are all industrial global uh, product developers uh, stemming mostly from Finland, but for example, Sandvik here is coming from Sweden. So this is my background company, um, and you can find more information online in English, Swedish, and Finnish. Okay, now we are starting to dig into the actual content, and hopefully your learning journey starts here. So what do we mean by additive manufacturing? First of all, it's digital business with the twist that it creates physical products. So the heart of additive manufacturing is data, and everything you can create with data. It's digital. Um, Mostly 90% of the work is digital, but we just happen to have printers that turn the data into physical products. And even that thought is quite exciting because now we are connecting also the virtual worlds, all the things that you can do with the data and AI and everything. And by suddenly you can then have physical products. So I hope you are not limited in your ideas to the quite simple implementations of these home and office printers with strings, but think more that we have digital aspects, we have data, and we can mold any products from the data. That's the key idea in additive manufacturing. You can use big variety of different materials like metals, like aluminum, steels, titanium. You can print different polymers or plastics for whatever needs there are. There are industrial polymers and then there are biopolymers, everything. You can print composites, you can print concrete, and you can print even clay. There are businesses that print houses from the local clay. And I think that is super fascinating. Additive manufacturing is industrial activities. Typically, when people talk about 3D printing, it's more like smaller scale business. But I like to use the term additive manufacturing because it's industrial and it's business and it's typically serial manufacturing. In the pictures here, you can see some of our activities. In the top left is the design part. We do the design. In the second from the left is one of our metal printers with Petri, my colleague, showing the machine. And that is an SLM machine from Germany. Then we are post-processing, third picture, because it is very crucial phase of the manufacturing, the post-processing. That's the moment when you actually create the final touch of the product. The last picture is not from our facility, but it shows that these additive manufacturing systems are growing quite fast and quite big. They are fully large-scale manufacturing units where you can make thousands of products in one day. And that's where the big companies are heading at the moment, like Airbus and car manufacturing companies. So this is what I mean by additive manufacturing. Digital business with industrial systems, making at the end physical products. But in my heart, this is much more than making products. Additive manufacturing is like philosophy, way of thinking about why we make products, what actually is a product. So it's an enabler for sustainable on-demand manufacturing, sustainable life. For example, in the traditional manufacturing, you do, let's say, big pile of products and put those in the warehouse so that they will be someday used, and they are all similar. In additive manufacturing, you only make those products that you actually need right now with the minimum material that you need to make the product, and it's all data. So it's really super sustainable business. And this aspect, if you think this idea that you only make those products when they are needed and in the shape that they are needed, it changes the current value creation. It changes the business models that are familiar. And now this is the core of this presentation. What is the change in the value creation and in the business models? So think broadly. Additive manufacturing or 3D printing started around 45 years ago, 1980s, from the first observations and first technologies. It has been quite a long time in the prototyping phase, lead innovators and early adopters using 3D printing. And those who know this life cycle presented by Geoffrey Moore, crossing the chasm, it shows quite well where we are now. Chasm is the place where technologies die or go forward. It means that the early adopters who have been using some technology in some segment are giving out the technology to the early majority, which is the first big population or big industry or big segment that adopts the technology. And now we can observe that additive manufacturing has gone over this chasm, and in many segments, sectors, the early majority, the big volumes of customers, industries have started to adopt 3D printing in their businesses. And this is where we live now, and it means high growth in the businesses, high growth opportunities when it's coming mainstream way of making products. Among the other production technologies, but we are not anymore in the small scale phase or in the prototyping phase, but we are talking manufacturing that grows and is industrial scale activities in many places, including handcrafts and those that are normally talked as an industrial activity. This is one reason why we are living in a very exciting years right now. Today, as I said earlier, this technology is in all sectors. Drones are now one of the hot applications. Everybody is doing drones or drone components and developing new lightweight drones and new features on the drones. It's actually quite big business and growing. And unfortunately, like we see in the wars, drones are killing people, but they are also saving people. Automotive, everywhere, all big automotive companies have 3D printing factories or use 3D printing in quite large scale in their different activities. It can be product design, production, after sales, maintenance, whatever. Medical field has used 3D printing quite a long time. The picture here is about the implants, but there are many other applications now very popular, like making orthoses, prostheses, and tools for the doctors who make operations or train new students. So the medical field is very active, and quite many university hospitals and organizations that support university hospitals are using 3D printing in daily operations. Food printing is often I got the question that can you print food? Oh yes, you can print food. But the problem is that we are not talking about printing ordinary food, like going to the McDonald's and have hamburgers, but it's more like when there's a food with purpose or some design emphasis or etc. For example, the open meals example here, it's 3D printed sushi, and you can see from the pictures that they have very delicate details in the food. So it means that you give more value, you appreciate the food. It has a real purpose why you make it. It's not something you just go and have a snack, but it's more like ceremony or something important. Or with food, we often also thought that we can do food that has medical effect on you. It has the vitamins you need or the drugs that you need. But it's still, it has a purpose and it's not mass production typically. Sports have adopted 3D printing in many ways, like biking, uh, in golf, in water sports, everywhere. And I especially like that Paralympics sports with the disabled people. They have found many great applications with 3D printing so that people who have some problems with their limbs or some physical other problems, you can give them a capability to have sports, to move properly, and so on. Sports is quite big industry application for 3D printing. And going to the kind of entertainment, practically all movie productions that have kind of real pictures, real objects and real people, they are using 3D printing to make props or whatever they need to kind of have real appearance on the movies. So the movie industry is a big user of 3D printing. Okay, this is 6 application areas to give you an idea that it's everywhere and you can find the business models in all sectors. And that is one way to say that be curious, look at what you are doing, what the people around you are doing. I'm sure there are applications in your own networks that you can identify for 3D printing. The 3D printing market is growing it is estimated going from 24 billion to 134 billion in the next 10 years with very good high growth rates. There are some news that something is going down and something is going up, and like the sales volumes of the 3D printing systems, they have some problems, but the overall business is growing steadily. And nowadays, uh, the defense is a very big customer or the user for 3D printing. And that's a topical thing right now. All defense industry companies that make products, they are adopting 3D printing if they haven't already. And 3D printing by nature is a dual use technology, which means that it can be applied both for civilian use, like spare parts, but it can be also used for military use. I think this is a fair way to use the technology, especially when you talk about the defense and the capability to survive. So the market is growing, and also that means that this is interesting and good thing to look seriously from the business perspective. Okay, about the business models. Uh, this slide shows 3 traditional ways of making innovation. First, there's this sustaining innovation, where you improve existing solutions and target existing customers. So something is better all the time, and most of the businesses that you can see around you is about sustaining innovation. When you have some business, you try to create better services or better products. For example, the 3D printing case here is company Lux Excel. They are using 3D printing to make better optical lenses and things where, for example, for the glasses or instruments, because making these optical lenses or industrial or consumer lenses is an old tradition, but now with 3D printing you can make better lenses for the same customers and same segments than earlier. The second area is low-end disruption, which means that you make the same product for the same customers, but you make it far more uh, less expensive. So you can create huge cost savings, but you have the same customers. This low-end disruption is, is typically in the situation that there are some established companies making some products, then they start to be more and more expensive because they are better all the time. And then comes new players and they just make it much more uh, less costly somehow. And they at the when the time goes forward, they start to compete and replace the more expensive solutions. And for example, what we see in our activities that companies who have been using plastic products using injection molding are turning to us. You know that injection molds, they are very expensive. They can cost thousands of dollars to make a mold, but then when you have the mold, you can make very cheap products. But if you have a product that is not stable, it changes now and then, or you need only small volumes of the products, then this turning to 3D printing is a good way. You can save a lot of money. And we see companies who are coming from the injection molding or the traditional manufacturing industry coming to 3D printing and starting to use it as a main production vehicle. And then there's the interesting third traditional business approach with the new market disruptions, which means that you make new solutions for the new segments. So this first and second, they focus on the existing segments, existing categories, but the new market disruption finds that there are people who are not yet have solution or nobody is providing the solution for them, and then we get solutions for the new markets. Sometimes those are so-called blue ocean solutions, but sometimes they are simply products that nobody talked about beforehand. And here's the example is Sugar Labs company who are making 3D printed sweets for customers who were not buying kind of luxury products beforehand. So these three are the things that typically are described in the theories of businesses and innovation. And many cases can be connected with these three aspects. Now, when we go forward, I'm going to present you something that are new, and maybe you haven't even heard about them earlier. Now, when we are talking about additive manufacturing, we can identify new ways, new avenues for the business innovation. And I'm just going through what are the 7 new innovation areas here, and then I'm going to pick up 3 of these that we are going to look at closer. First is the personalization business. When you make products with 3D printing, each product can be unique. It can be exclusively designed for the customer. And this exclusive design or personalized product, it doesn't add any cost. So you can make practically serial production where every product can be different and tailored for the user. Ecological business is the second. Uh, 3D printing or additive manufacturing is highly ecological way of making products uh, because of the use of the material or the local production or logistics approach, etc. So that's a new kind of new way of think that where is the business, and it can be ecological business or sustainable business. Hyperlocal business is also a new area, which means that the products are made very close to the end user. And this means in the same way you can make houses where the houses will be, or you can make spare parts where the spare parts are needed, extremely close to the end need. Then you can have integrated businesses, and This means that you simply put many manufacturing or the value chain is connected in a new way to a very more tight collaboration between the different uh, value chain members, or you can get rid of some phases that you need in the traditional value chain and you just make it more compact, more connected digitally or physically. And the five is more on this actual value chain is innovation because now when we are talking about this digital business, it means that, for example, the designers can be in India, the some digital processing or AI can be in Thailand, and the manufacturing can be wherever there are printing needs and the customers. So the value chain can be built in quite relaxed or um, new ways. Number six is about the community-based business. The roots of 3D printing are in shared practices, open innovation, communities, and this spirit is still very strong also in the industrial communities. And I think that especially this approach that you think 3D printing as a community, or you can create communities, or you can connect people that have the same ambition to a virtual factory, for example, or the virtual business, virtual companies. That is one of the strongest opportunities. For example, if we who are on this call decided that we establish a company together and start additive manufacturing business with the people who is now here, it would be totally possible to have this new business, a new venture started with this about, I don't know the count right now, but maybe 40, 50 people. That would be a very fascinating idea to see that where we could go. And the last one is outlier business, which means businesses that don't fit into traditional uh, definitions or expectations of how you make the business. And now I'm going to uh, discuss personalization business, ecological business, and outlier business as an examples. First, the personalization. And as I said, when you talk about additive manufacturing, personalization comes for free. In the traditional industries, making a very personalized product can cost a lot of money. But when you talk about additive manufacturing, it's not any additional cost. And that gives the possibilities to create new business models. There are different levels where you can think about this personalization, starting from the standardized products where all the products are similar, and that's a normal thing today. But you can start to customize with the context so it fits for the location or time or the environment, the products. You can make mass customization where it's more like sectors or segments that you customize. You can do mass modularization where the components or modules of the products are customized or can be changed. And this is now quite big business in China where new products are made with mass modularization and 3D printing those different modules. My favorite is hyper personalization, where you can have the idea that each product can be unique for the user or for the spare part or whatever. The examples here are secret aligner. They make dental aligners automatically. Uh, it's serial manufacturing, but each aligner is individual product. Open Bionics is making bionic hands for the as a prosthesis, and they are tailored per user. And 3D printing is the core enabler on these bionic hands. And the last picture here on the right-hand side is you can see this additive marking. It's a company in Germany, but they have technology where you can mark every single product to have unique identifier. So even when you make, like, let's say 1,000 products per day, as we are doing, we can identify each product and have these identifiers in different ways, like QR codes or some other ways to identify the specific products. So personalization means in the best form, it's hyper personalization. Every product is unique and maybe different from the others. The ecological business models, the second here, is also now very topical. And I would claim that additive manufacturing is the most environment friendly manufacturing technology that you can find. For example, because it uses always the minimum amount of raw materials. Typically, in our processes, we can take 90% of the material away from the expected material volume and then start doing it. It can apply use of recycled materials, like recycled plastics is now quite common. It creates a minimum amount of waste. The amount of waste is really, really small in additive manufacturing. It's on-demand manufacturing, which means the products locate digitally in the digital warehouses, and you make only the product when it's needed, and it can be local. These are 5 examples of why this is ecological business. And for example, Decathlon, which makes sporting in equipment, they make these sneakers based on these 5 principles. Now, when we can use recycled materials in 3D printing, we can imagine that in some cases, increasingly, we can make products without material cost. I think this idea is radical because always in the manufacturing, we have to calculate that the material cost is big and it is an essential number. But when we perfect the process and use recycled materials from our own processes or using recycled polymers, plastics, it's really we are going towards the situation that the material cost is zero. We are going towards that direction. It may be that someday it's never totally zero, but we are coming closer to the zero material cost. And when you think about business model, what this means for the new businesses when you think that the material comes for free. Material comes for free. The possibility of the businesses is super interesting. And there are some examples of these. There are kind of research projects and startups doing this. There are actual machines that turn plastic waste into filaments or printing materials. And for example, this company, Signify Migration, a Dutch company, they have at the moment there is amount of recycled materials. I think it's something where 65 or 70% of the products have recycled materials. So it's really happening, and the business models are coming. And the last example is about outlier business models, which are unexpected and unconventional business models. So the business model as such can be something very strange. They often deal with open source. Uh, in some format, it can be open source uh, data or materials or innovation, or the value chain can be really strange, or the combinations of technologies are strange. And there are 3 examples of these outlier business models. It tends to be that many of those are related to science or some special tools. It's open flexure, They make open source scientific instruments. It's totally open and thing, the kind of ecosystem, and you can get the, for example, the 3D models and print your own scientific instruments. COBOL is an on open source 3D printable laboratory equipment. So they make these solutions, for example, in the areas where the traditional high-level university hospital and other services are not available. So actually, the COBOL brings the medical equipment to anywhere there are 3D printers. And the idea even that you can do this and make a profitable business of this open source with this approach is quite interesting from the business model perspective. And the most, I think, oldest example is BioCurious. They started with the biohacking and community, studying the biology and what they can do and find out about biology. They have been studying different topics and developing like bioprinter and some drugs for the medical care. And in this model, they are not trying to make profit, but like um, medical companies are donating technologies for these BioCurious and other companies so that they can develop the solutions. So they are in a way making profit so that others want to support the business and they also want to get part of the results back. These examples are kind of in a way challenging the established business models in the medical or science, and they are competing. They are not trying to overcome the traditional businesses, but they are providing alternative to make the same things much cheaper or easier. Now, when we think about what service businesses we can build from here, there are three generations I would like to raise to your attention. Generation one, manufacturing as a service, and second generation is about applications and services, and finally the AI era, text to product. So now in this 3D printing and additive manufacturing segment, these kind of companies are emerging. Xometry, GraphCloud, Factory, Work, and others. And their idea is that because there are resources everywhere, 3D printing resources and other resources, they are making services that connect these services so that, for example, the industrial customer can easily find out that what's the best way to make my products, who can do it and have some competition on the price, etc. But in my view, this is only the first generation, this manufacturing as a service. This is what we have today. Second generation means that we go deeper into the applications and services. And for you, I think this is one of the most uh, potential business model that you can start working on right now. So the business model and the innovation happens on the service layer. You totally separate the physical AM resources and the digital services. It's the same thing that if you look at Facebook or Airbnb, etc., they don't have the actual resources. They only innovate on the service. And they innovate, they are decoupled from the resource. And the UI for the user is totally different thing. And when we think about this in the context of additive manufacturing, let's say that you want to make a spare part for sailboats. You can simply start the business, create the catalog, crowdsource designs, etc., innovate good business model, and then just find out who can do the products when you have sold those. So you can totally focus on the innovation on the service And the second innovation is how you actually make this. But you don't have to own any physical resources. I mean, the manufacturing resources, 3D printers. You don't need those because they exist every place, everywhere, and you can start kind of connect and invite them to your service.
Hi, Pekka. Sorry to interrupt. We only have
Yes,
10 minutes left.
okay, I'm going to the end quite soon. Yep, thanks. Same goes for any other kind of applications like revamping your vehicles. And the third level is the AI text to product business. And this is already working. We have been trying out and it works. So basically, you can simply have a prompt that says, I need a replacement part for this and that. AI can generate the proposal and the design, and you just decide, okay, this is good, and then it can go to the manufacturing. And this is something that is not in the industrial application today, but is coming quite rapidly. So take a look at this possibility and try out how far you can go. There are services and applications available for that. And finally, I would like to say that think broadly. Amory Lovins, who is an energy expert, created four categories how you can approach this innovation. You can improve something that is there. You can switch technology to make the same task. You can modify the task and make bigger changes to what is done. And the example in additive manufacturing, for example, if you want to improve energy efficiency, the improving means that, for example, we can make lighter structures with additive manufacturing. So we make lighter products, smaller products, more compact products, or whatever. We can switch the technology to perform the same task. For example, spare part is 3D printed compared to some old way. Modifying the task can be that we don't do everything in the one factory, but we do distributed manufacturing in many places or local manufacturing close to the need. Or we make wide-reaching changes to what is done. We can talk about digital products, phygital products. So physical products are only made when they are needed, and until that they live only in the virtual space, metaversum, or some other place. So think broadly, think about the possibilities. Don't just copy something that is there already, but think, try to imagine the better world. Insights to end here. I would claim that AM creates new digital businesses for all different ways of doing business, B2B, business to consumer, direct to consumer, business and governments, and consumer to consumer. The competition is not about the price, but it's about sustainability, functions, and value. And for you, there are gigantic opportunities for service innovations. Really gigantic, not something fancy or small, but very big. Okay, I'm
All
concluding
right.
here, and now it's time for your questions and comments.
All right. Thank you for that, Becca. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time for the questions. I only see one question here, but I'll send you his question and you can connect with him directly. So before we end our webinar, I would like to take a moment to introduce you ITC and ICTTM platform, which is Adam FTD. It's a powerful platform designed to help businesses and individuals streamline their workflow and enhance productivity. So whether you're looking for advanced data management solutions, seamless integration, or innovative digital tools, Adam FTD have you covered. So to learn more, just go to our website adamftd.com and discover how it can transform the way you work. So yes, there is a webinar. There is a recording of this webinar. It will be uploaded in the next 24 hours to our YouTube channel, International Trade Council. So before we end our session, again, you can reach out to our speaker directly since we don't have enough time for questions. Before I end the webinar, Pekka, I would like to ask your closing remarks for this presentation so we can conclude the webinar. Pekka, any final words to the audience?
You were. So
Mhm.
really think about 3D printing, additive manufacturing as an innovation possibility. It's something different. It can be something really different, local, sustainable, profitable. And
Okay.
what I learned, the main learning is that don't do it alone. Always find others, make networks, and make new businesses with your network.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of our session. A huge thank you to you, Pekka Katola, for sharing your experience or expertise. And to all of you attending and engaging with us today, if you have any further questions, please feel free to connect with us or to the speaker after the session. Thank you again, and we hope to see you in our future events. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you, Pekka.
Thank you. Bye bye.